Anuj Kumar 7 years ago and has completed its glorious 7 years and has been growing ever since. Legal Desire has been a publisher of legal news, research, insights, and has been one of the fastest legal news and information brand by upbringing the company's heritage of credible guidance and advice with millions of readership across global legal fraternity. Legal Desire brings an objective, informative, and 360-degree perspective to today's complex legal stories. Legal Desire has organized various workshops, conferences, training sessions for the doctors, lawyers, judges, police professionals, and students. So the Department of Forensic Science and Criminal Investigations works under Legal Desire with a motto to be the world-class institute of and a world-leading media insight group. So I'd like to introduce Department of Forensic Science and Criminal Investigation as well. The Department of Forensic Science, Legal Desire, Media and Insights started in 2000. Aims to look after the Legal Desires initiative to promote forensic science and criminal investigation and inclusion in legal academic curriculum. For the same, the department regularly organizes annual international conferences, seminars, workshops, webinars, and summits at international, national, regional, and campus levels. Till date, we have organized more than 20 plus such events and are looking forward to more such events. The department is strengthened by a team of global forensic experts, lawyers, doctors, and academicians. An international journal on medical legal issues in forensics, that is International Medical Legal Reporter, is also published by the department with a peer review international quarterly journal published by Legal Desire, Media and Insights. The publication is informative for lawyers, forensic experts, judicial officers, doctors, students, and general public. The journal publishes insights and in-depth research on medical legal issues and use of forensic in criminal justice system. The editorial board of journal comprises of global forensic and medical legal experts. The journal is international indexed and acclaimed at various platforms. The Department of Forensic Science also recently launched India's first forensic science newsletter, that is the Forensic Reporter. This is a platform where you get to explore new advancements and newly introduced technologies, all the latest insights and news about forensic sciences. The events including upcoming conferences, workshops, admission, job opportunities, and all such information can be acquired from the interception. You can also get judgments of cases and various case studies for academic purposes. Till now, we have organized various international conferences and is actively working in the field of forensic sciences in India. Now, I'd like to invite Dr. Shivani R. Pandya, Head of Department Forensic Science, Parul University, for a brief introduction to Parul University. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you so much, Asim. Good afternoon and welcome to everyone. Myself, Dr. Shivani, as Asif said. I'm right now working as a head and assistant professor at Department of Forensic Science, Parul Institute of Applied Sciences, Parul University. Let me talk something about Parul University. At Parul University came into being during April 2015, via an act of state legislature, that is Gujarat Private University Act 2009 and Gujarat Private Universities Second Amendment Act 2015, and has made long strides in the field of education in Gujarat. Parul University is an amalgamation of 34 institutes offering 250 plus programs, 150 plus acre fully equipped campus housing 28,000 students, 1,200 plus international students from 49 countries, 2,000 plus faculty members, and providing in-campus residential facilities to 7,000 plus students, making it India's premier multidisciplinary university. Nevertheless, the fact is that it is the only institution in Gujarat to have 110 plus faculty members from reputed organizations such as IITs and NITs. Parul University has various support cells which is facilitate 360-degree learning and career building opportunity during the learning period as well as after the completion. Research and development cell, entrepreneurship development cell, career development cell, training and placement cell, international relations cell, international students affairs cell, Department and Event and Media Relations, Students' Council, and Alumni Association, to a name of few. Campus is an immaculate blend of a youth under the guidance of experienced academicians, creating serene academic ambience of teaching, learning, knowledge, innovation for all the stakeholders. Thank you very much. Let me show you a video, a glimpse of Parul University. I hope you'll enjoy it.
Parul University. Parul University, Vadodara, Gujarat. Forensic science is a fascinating field that empowers the
Let me talk something about Department of Forensic Science. As Department of Forensic Science was established in 2017, our first batch just came out, and one of the student is working with Legal Desire Media and Insight. I would like to introduce that we are also running MSc program and PhD program, which was just started in 2018 and 2019 respectively. Right now, we have more than 300 students from national and international countries. And right now, we are providing collaborations with different institutions and organizations to come up with new ideas and research. So we will fully welcome you all to come and visit to our department, and we would like to collaborate with all of you who are interested to develop new research and techniques for the development of forensic science, as it is a very growing and budding branch. I know that it is already developed since from years, but still we need to know more about technology which is used for the identification and investigation of different cases. So let me show you a glimpse of Department of Forensic Science.
Forensic science is a fascinating field that empowers the modern judicial system today. Parul University offers a BSc, MSc and PhD program in forensic science at Faculty of Applied Sciences to instrument niche specialization in the field of scientific investigation. The curriculum integrates forensic science and law through a balanced research-based training, classroom lectures and practical modules, providing a comprehensive and unique structured forensic education. The department is equipped with evidence storage cabinets, drying cabinets, high-powered microscopes, fingerprint analysis equipments and other cutting-edge technologies, coupled with a highly experienced faculty acting as the strongest aid. Forensic experts holding various profiles like forensic pathologists, forensic anthropologists, clinical forensic medicine experts, forensic chemists, toxicologists or forensic serology experts are imperative entities at investigative services of state or central government and legal system. The career scope is wide, valuable and significant. Parul University, Vadodara, Gujarat.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, ma'am. With this, I'd like to introduce the session for day one, that is wildlife forensics, an overview. And the speaker for the session is Dr. S.K. Singh. Sir is currently the scientist and nodal officer, Wildlife Forensic and Conservation Genetics Cell, Department of Animal Ecology and Conservation Biology, Wildlife Institute of India. He has specialization in the area of wildlife forensics, its conservation and evolutionary genetics. Dr. Gupta and his team is working on the basic and applied research projects for the conservation of rare and endangered species and strengthening the wildlife forensics capability in India. He is also teaching on the subjects of wildlife forensics, illegal wildlife trade, conservation and evolutionary genetics. He has published many research papers in various reputed journals, national and international. Apart from this, he is the member of International Society of Forensic Genetics and also a member of editorial board for journals of forensic research and has been awarded Best Wildlife Forensic Expert in 2020. Over to you, sir.
A little bit about my work related to wildlife forensics. Here, I'm audible.
Yes, sir.
So I'm just going to present my small presentation here. And with this, I would like to introduce you about the what is wildlife forensics and what we need to do in this, and what are the future job opportunity in this field. So this is my brief profile. I am working in this field for past 18 years. I completed my master in 2002 and then started my career in this field itself and joined the CCMB Center for Cellular Molecular Biology, Hyderabad. And there I started working with Dr. Lalji Singh, who is one of the renowned forensic expert of the country. And he has been invented the DNA forensics, DNA fingerprinting in India. So he's called Indian father of DNA fingerprinting here. So I worked with him briefly for 4 years. Then I joined this institute here in WII in 2008. And after joining this institute, I again started my job in this same profile, wildlife forensics as well as conservation genetics. And that is how my well here dedicated for the dedicated theme, where we do a lot of exercise pertaining to the conservation genetics as well as developing a new and easy molecular method or forensic method to deal with the wildlife crime, wildlife offense cases. So when we talk about wildlife crime, so it is not, it is unlike common forensics where we deal on a routine basis, where mostly we deal the crime investigation pertaining to the human related issues, where either human is victim or human is culprit. But here, when we talk about the wildlife forensics, so their victim is always wildlife and human is culprit. And then if we talk about the wildlife, if we talk about the animal, so there are a array of species. So we can't focus our study just for a couple of species. Maybe not only, we can't say that we will do forensic investigation only for the tiger, elephant or leopard or something like that. But in wildlife crime investigation, we get a variety of the samples pertaining to variety of the species. So if you go through the Wildlife Protection Act, which describe the different animal species under different schedules, and based on the schedule, the punishment level vary. For Schedule 1 animal, if anybody has killed or having the article made up of the Schedule 1 animal, so punishment level is very high. And here in wildlife forensic investigation, we need to just ascertain the species of the confiscated material. Whatever material is being recovered by the enforcement agencies, if it has been sent to us for the forensic investigation, and if we identify its species, its origin, from which animal it is related, so then our job is done and the rest will be taken care in the act. Here we don't need to prove that particular person only has hunted the animal or not. So here hunting is not a question. In wildlife forensics, possession is illegal. If anybody is having any article belonging to any prohibited or protected animal, so the person will be found guilty. And that how you can ascertain the sample which is recovered by the enforcement agencies belonging to any scheduled animal or any protected animal. So there you have to do a thorough forensic investigation here. So I'll go through with this presentation here. So first I would like to tell you the gravity of the illegal wildlife trade, why it is necessary to stop the illegal wildlife trade across the globe. If you look at the different illegal trade at a global level, so the first and very demanding trade is for the narcotics, drug is, and it's giving in terms of revenue also, which is listed at first, it is giving higher revenue than the second, then third and fourth. So the narcotics is giving the more value, more revenue than illegal arms supply, then human trafficking, and wildlife trade. Human trafficking and wildlife trade are just close to each other. If illegal wildlife trade are giving a business of about 20 billion US dollar, illegal business of 20 billion US dollar, then human trafficking is not very high. It is just 23 or 26 billion US dollar. But, human trafficking and illegal wildlife trade are very close to close. And the profit, the fund, which is generated through all these illegal trades are not only for the personal greed, but it is also going for a very severe side of our society where it is used for antisocial activity all across the globe. So if you are, you might be knowing through various sources that some groups are getting the funding through Hawala or whatever way of the illegal trade. So they are, it is also contributing a major part for generating the fund. So that is why Interpol, International Police, is also very concerned about the breaking the illegal wildlife trade. So that is the global concern. So with that, I'd like to just going into more detail about the different animal species and different species, those are involved in illegal trade. So though there are more than 1,500 species listed in Wildlife Protection Act, if you go through Wildlife Protection Act book, there are 5 schedules where animal are listed, and there are another 6 schedule, total 6 schedule are there. So 6th schedule is for the plant species. There are some plant species also described in the Wildlife Protection Act, but our concern is about mainly animal species. Those are in this from schedule 1 to schedule 5. And in all these 5 schedules, there are about 1,500 species. Those are listed as a protected animals. And then based on the demand and supply, so there are some targeted and most common targeted species are listed here, which include tiger or other cat, elephant, elephant for its ivory, and then antler, rhino horn, musk deer for its pod, bear bile, many live animal like butterflies and insect, coral and plants, and recently we added here a pangolin scale. So this is just a few names which are listed in this list, but there are many more than 100 species. Those are highly traded, or those are at least involved in the legal wildlife trade or wildlife hunting across our country. We are talking about our India only. So these are the species those are involved here, and their purpose is for the various use. Mainly the wildlife article are used in not as a ornamental value or not as a trophy, but its main use is there as a medicine in Oriental medicine in China. So most of the Chinese medicines are made up of the some or the other wildlife material, which include the tiger bone to musk pod to bear bile to rhino horn. Many more are there. And then local consumptions, people hunt the animal, they consume its meat, and sometimes people like to keep the live animal. There are many live wildlife animal; those are kept as a pet. You will surprised to know that parakeet, which we commonly encage in our house as a parrot, though parrot is not the accurate name for the parakeet, which is green in color in our country, which people keep in their house as a cage. So that is also illegal. Having bird in cage is also a illegal thing as a pet. And in northeast India or eastern part, so there is another species, lizard species, gecko, toke gecko, and many more. So these are the species where it is going as a live animal trade. Their derivatives and ornamental value are always demanded everywhere. And there are many agencies, those are parallelly involved in enforcing the Wildlife Act. So top of it, the Wildlife Crime Control Bureau, which is the statutory body of the Ministry of Environment and Forest and Climate Control. So climate change, Government of India, and State Forest Department, Indian Police, and the various other agencies, including customs and paramilitary forces. And the act which support the or which stop or which is in favor of the enforcement agencies is the top most preferred act is the Wildlife Protection Act, which described all the different species listed as a protected species. Then CITES Act, Import-Export Act, Custom Act, and many other. So those can be implemented parallelly. We started receiving the case in our institute from 1987 onward. So we received a very few number of the case in early years when we initiated our institute here. But later on, the number of cases started increasing drastically. And now this is the 2019 January to December data. So now we can say that past few years we are getting close to 250 to 300 cases every year. So it means every day we receive one case which pertain to wildlife crime, and that is not entire wildlife crime of the country. It is just a few fractions, small fractions of the total crime which is happening in our country. And these cases are forwarded to us from all across the country, which you can see through this India map. So we have received the cases from all country, all states, and including one of our remotest state from Andaman and Nicobar too. So we have received more than 50 cases from Andaman and Nicobar Islands. If we talk about the approaches, how we do the wildlife crime investigation, so there are various approach, and here we follow the two different protocol. One is morphological examination, which is called morphometry, and another is the molecular or DNA test. So about more than 60% cases require the DNA test. So their DNA test is compulsory, mandatory. Without DNA test, it cannot be solved. But remaining 37 to 40% cases where DNA test is not needed, and we can solve these cases using morphological test. And we'll explain you different type of the morphological examinations, which you as a forensic students, you all must be knowing about some of the techniques, osteology and hair morphology or various other things, which I'll explain you in coming slides. So morphology is, though it is very simple but very powerful approach, very potent approach to ascertain the species, which involve the just a simple morphological examination. Like here you can see a different sets of the tiger skin here. One is at the left corner, then right corner at the top, and it's in middle, and at the base at the down, you can see the two different close-up of the tiger skin. So if you see here, the first four skin which is there in the left corner is not because it is a gray market. It is not an open area where sellers sell the article to the buyer in openly. So it is a very closed market, and people do illegally. So there are a lot of articles being sold which are not genuine, not original. So many fake articles are also getting sold in name of the wildlife article. And if you look at these four skins, that is not at all of any known or any real tiger. So this is the fake tiger skin, and those are of made up of cattle skin. So you can see the tail length, that is very small, and the stripe pattern, that is very symmetrical in the skin. But originally the tiger stripes are like the right corner, so where the pattern is very irregular. It is not starting from the dorsal line, not from the middle line. So it can start from anywhere and end at anywhere. So this one is the dog in central portion, which you can see the central image having four canine, big canine. So that is also a fake tiger skin made up of the horse. So people are using horse skin making the tiger skin. And the color which they have used making the stripe is very simple and easily available dye in the market, which human use for the coloring their hair dye. So just investing a little bit, 30-40 rupees, they get a one pouch of the hair dye, and they can make many tiger or many striped animal. And if you look at close up, so their line, black and yellow line is very sharp in the fake, like in the left corner. But in the right corner, you can see that yellow one is coming up to the black, and black is going up to the yellow. So it is giving a color gradient. So it should be like this, because in the left side you can see it is sharp band, sharp line. It cannot be a rigid line here. It can happen only somebody is painting with the paintbrush. But in originally either hair is yellow or black. It is genetically decided, not by the pattern, not by the band or boundary. So that is why you can see there are. It is coming up to this point. Hello. Abhi, I'm taking a class. Okay. So, another confirmatory point will be if you plug the few black hair from both the tiger skin, if you are in confusion, and if you put it in Arni solvent, if you dip this black hair color, black colored hair in Arni solvent, in acetone or ether or in the nail polish remover, so the color of the fake tiger skin will disappear, will fade up. But not in the original, because original are genetically colored. It is not a dye, so it cannot be removed by Arni solvent. So the making a leopard skin, fake leopard skin is very tough task. And here once it was tried by some people, and it is nowhere close to the leopard, because leopard skin are having a beautiful rosette pattern. And here you can see the pattern like a giraffe, irregular patches like giraffe. It is not at all a original leopard skin. Another thing, if you see the clear-cut morphological feature, whether it's a leopard or tiger or any cheetah or any animal, so then another step is there. You remove guard hair from the surface, from the mammal skin, and make a cuticular slide of the guard hair, and that each mammal's guard hair have the unique cuticular pattern, and under microscope you can identify the cuticle of the hair, cuticle pattern of the hair, and based on that you can compare the original with the fake, tiger with the tiger or leopard with the leopard, and you can make a reference slide of the many species and you can compare whenever you get any case. So that is the easiest and simplest way to do a scientific comparison. Here is another height of the stupidity. Here the background is the leopard skin, original leopard skin, but it has been painted like tiger. It has given an impression like a tiger skin here. It is fake, though it is a original leopard skin. Again, it is schedule 1 animal, but painted like a tiger skin. So one of the biggest seizure recovered near Allahabad in Khaga. So where in a single case about more than 40 leopard skin was recovered, and about 10 tiger skin was recovered in that same case. And if you look at these two blue drum were filled with the 18,000 original leopard claw nail of the leopard, 18,000. And in nature, each cat, whether it's a tiger, leopard, or your domestic cat, has the 18 visible claw, 18 claw. So 18,000 leopard means 1,000 leopard they have already killed in the same case, 1,000 leopard. So generally our focus is to protect the tiger. There are many tiger projects in every state, many tiger reserve are there. But leopard is the another victim. Those are going in substitute of the tiger. If tiger bone is not readily available, so in Chinese medicine, so they are using the alternative of the tiger bone as a leopard bone. So a lot of leopard also getting killed, getting hunted. And if you look at the claw, there are fabrications of each and every body part of the wildlife. So here also the fake leopard claw is also available in the market. Like this one is the original leopard claw, original cat claw. Not, I'm not saying here leopard or tiger, but I'm telling you the feature of the cat claw. So this bone, metatarsal bone, where nail is attached, is the bigger and outer layer. It is the original. But look at the second picture. where bone is going inside the nail portion, that is not a genuine case. It is a fake article. It is a diagram. And if you do the X-ray of this claw, so you may say the feature like this, that bone keel-like projections are going inside the nail portion, but in the fake it is sharp end because it doesn't have any feature like a genuine cat claw. So this bone is well developed only in case of the cat, whether it's a tiger, leopard, lion, or domestic cat. Then only you will see this bone is bigger. Otherwise, this bone may be smaller in case of the canid, in case of the dog, bear. Why this bone is big and well developed? Because there are a lot of muscles attached to this bone, and when tiger move, so they retract their claw in the skin, and while they attack and they catch their prey, so their claw will come out. So they, because of the well developed bone, they have the retractile claw. But this case is not true with the canid, with the dog, wolf, jackal, or any other animal, where claw always remain outside. If you get the skull, complete skull, we can tell the many closely related species by observing the skull morphology. There are various parameters to measure a skull of a cat, and based on that measurement, we plot a bar chart, and based on that, we conclude the source of the species of that skull. Like in case of the tiger, this sagittal crust is well developed, very prominent. Like here, you can see the sagittal crust is having very prominent ridge, and this portion is coming up. And whereas in case of the leopard, their head region, it is going down and down. So this is the real difference between tiger and leopard. And there are many other parameters by which we do measure, take the measurement of the skull, and then we finalize its species. In case of the scapula bone, in herbivore, the scapula bone edges are very sharp and flat. But in case of the carnivore, especially the cat, this scapula bone is curved. You can see the curve-like structure here. Another very demanding material is the stall made up of the chiru, Tibetan antelope, which is known as Sahtu stall. This hexagonal honeycomb-like structure is the cuticular pattern of the Sahtu hair, guard hair of the Sahtu. There are another alternative of the Sahtu is Pashmina, but Pashmina cuticular pattern is very, very different than the Sahtu. So you can easily make it out under microscope. So you can do with the simple light microscope. You don't need to go for the any electron microscope. So you make a glass slide and observe under microscope, and you can identify, you can differentiate. In case of the Tibetan antelope, its a major range is the Tibet. Only single population is found in Tibet, and a small number of the animal reach to our territory in India. So that is why this animal is listed in Indian Wildlife Protection Act 2. So the seizure point is mainly the Tibetan plateau, where animal is killed, its hair is plucked from its body, and then this hair is forwarded to our country. Am I visible? Am I audible?
Yes, sir, continue.
Yes, sir. Continue, sir.
You have signed out because you are currently, what is this? Okay. So its hair is being transported to India especially in illegal trade, illegal hub near Delhi, and there its hair is being sold out in India, and then this hair goes to its final destination where hair is converted to Sathu shawl, and this Sathu shawl is made only in India, no any other part of our any globe, any world. So only Srinagar weavers knows how to convert chiru hair into Sathu shawl. So there the poachers bring the hair here in Delhi, and then they sell it to the mediator, and after selling the chiru hair, they take the equivalent value of the either tiger bone, rhino horn, leopard bone, or any other wildlife article which is Indian origin. So they don't deal with the money. So they do the barter trade. They exchange with the other illegal wildlife article of our country. And then this hair reaches to Srinagar where it is converted to the Sathu shawl, and then again it is being bring back to the international exit point, maybe airport, and from where it is being transported to various parts of the globe. So mainly its demand Sathu shawl is demanded in Europe and America, heavily demanded there, as well as in Middle East. Many lizard, many reptiles are being poached for their various body part, especially their skin. Here you can see these are the necktie made up of the snake skin. In one case, we received more than 300 necktie from Delhi, and when we did the test, it was coming out to be the red snake, dhamen, which we called commonly, and few of them were from the cobra. So those were the de-skinned animal, not the skin which they naturally shed. The skin which they naturally shed every year is of no use. It is like a dust if you rub it. This animal is poached heavily for its fur, its hair, which is used for making paint brushes, mongoose. So there are 4 species of the mongoose, and it is being used for making hair brush. How you can identify the hair is of the mongoose? If you take out one single hair strand here, like it is, there are 4 strands in the pink background. Each hair are having multiple band, white, gray, white, gray, white, gray, multiple band. So if you see single thread of the hair is having multiple band, so that is the definite phenomenon of the mongoose hair or badger hair. So both are the protected species, and basically and mainly it is coming from the mongoose only. Musk deer is killed for its gland, navel gland, which is called musk pod, and this was the article which was heavily used even in our medicinal process, ancient medicinal process in Ayurveda and Siddha, the musk pod. And it's another commercial use is making perfume, Muscon perfume, which is very famous brand from the France. So a lot of article are made up of from this musk pod. Now perfume industry is totally changed to a chemical compound. Musk pod do contain muscon. Muscon means it is a ketone. Its structure has already been decoded, and now the same structure molecule is being synthesized in the laboratory. So that chemically synthesized muscon is being used for making perfume. But still, for the medicinal purpose, people are using real musk pod. Bear is poached for various body parts, especially its body fat, claw, canine, skin. But main demand is for its bile, gallbladder of the bear, which you can see here. It's a gallbladder of a bear. Bear is a social animal. Entire family moves together. So that is why poaching entire bear family appear to be easier for the poacher. they killed, in this case you can see the 5 individuals, probably from the same family, mother, father, and 3 cubs were killed in a single poaching. Elephant is poached for its ivory mainly. Earlier it was thought that only ivory is the main product, but there are many other derivatives of the elephant body, like its leg is used as a trophy dustbin, souvenir dustbin. Its hair, tail hair. Basically in South India, people are using elephant tail hair as a prosperity symbol. They use with the gold making ring or bracelet. Recently, it has been noticed that it is not only tail hair and ivory, but its skin pieces also being dried out and carved like a ball, like in the palm you can see here, a red color bead here, which is called blood bead. Blood bead, which is a common ornamental material in Southeast Asia, basically in Myanmar, which is made up of dried elephant skin. Antler from the deer, canine. All carnivorous animals do have the 4 canine. So their canine also in high demand. So there are various features to identify whether canine belong to a cat family or not. If you can see the groove, can you see the groove on the crown on both? So if you can see the crown portion having groove, so it belongs to a cat. And based on its size and its other feature, we ascertain the species. So groove is visible, so it's a cat definitely. It could be of a tiger, leopard, snow leopard, or any lion or any other cat. This animal, horsebill sea turtle, is a sea turtle species which is heavily poached for its carapace. And the carapace is used for making various ornamental articles like jewelry box, bangle, comb. If you see these 2 comb, those were actually having the work of the real gold. So the handle is of the real gold in this 2 comb. It shows that it's a very precious and very high priced material where people do put real gold for making the ornament. Another thing is the DNA test. Morphology are many more things there. I can't explain everything here, but these are the few method how we identify the species. And DNA test is the another way where we can identify the species of many articles where morphology is failed, where morphologically it is not possible to identify a species. Right. So, but for doing the DNA test, we need to have the proper homework here. We need to have a proper repository, tissue repository here. And protocol and molecular markers are already there with us. We have different marker to deal with. But mind you, here we are talking about more than 1,500 species together. And we never know in next case which species is a victim. We may get the reference, we may get the case of any of the wild animal, anything you can name from the wild can be a victim in the next case. And we have to be ready with our technique. We can't say at the moment that we can't help because we don't know this animal. We have to be equipped with our technique. So technique are there, methods are there. Only we are lacking the first part, establishing a good repository. Though we have the many species repository with us, where those are commonly traded or commonly poached in illegal trade. But we need to work hard to get the tissue repository of entire 1,500 species. Those are listed in WPA. Then preservation of sample is another challenge, sometimes due to improper training. Many times from the field, staff do make a mistake. They do collect the sample in appropriate way. The accurate way of collecting a sample is to preserve the sample in ethanol. Ethyl alcohol is very good preservative. If you preserve the sample, if you dip the sample in ethyl alcohol, fresh meat or anything in the ethyl alcohol, you can keep the sample for a year on room temperature. It preserves nicely. But we face challenge when it is being preserved in formalin. As a forensic student, you also must be knowing that formalin should never be used for the molecular test, for the DNA test. So it is not advisable. Whenever I receive any sample in formalin, I simply refuse to accept the case here in our lab. Another short-term storage material is the silica gel. Silica is the desiccator where you can preserve the sample for short term. We dream to get the blood in the vial, but we never get any blood sample in the vial in vial lab crime. Because when enforcement agency reach to the crime scene, crime is already committed. Animal is already dead. There is no chance that you will get the live animal. And if animal is dead, if it is chopped out, so you may not get the fresh blood in the vial, but you may get the blood in the form of the stain. You may get blood clot, blood on stone, leaf, wooden log, or sometimes a small quantity of the liquid blood where you can make yourself a blood smear and you can send the blood smear for DNA test even. Or you can soak the blood in the filter paper and you can send the filter paper for the test. Generally, department staff are not fully equipped. They run in very hurry when they receive a call for the legal trade, illegal hunting. They approach to the site without proper preparation. If they do the proper preparation, if they keep the kit ready with them in every range, it will be easier for them to handle a situation in crisis time. Methodology is more or less given in the picture. We get the sample, we do the DNA test, we amplify a targeted region of about 400-500 base pair, and then we go for the DNA sequencing, and then we compare this DNA sequence in our database, in our own database, and based on the matching in our database, we ascertain the species. Like here, in one case, is matching with the black buck, so it means the case property belong to the black buck, like that. There are many other misleading articles or story are floated in the news media. People get confused with. Like if you see this slide, this is the clipping of the Amar Ujala newspaper on 19 April 2017. It described an article which is called Hatha Jodi, and they claim to be a plant root. They say that if you keep this plant root in your puja ghar or in your tijori, so you'll get a big prosperity. You can't imagine after keeping this article with you. But such type of fake or misleading articles encourage people to search the article where they can get, and it started available on all online shopping sites. This Hatha Jodi was available on Amazon, eBay, Flipkart, Snapdeal. These are the very few names, but there are many more websites, more than 50 websites. Those were selling this article openly, not as animal product, but as a plant root. When it came to our knowledge, we also purchased a few articles to check what it is actually. And with DNA test, it was confirmed that yes, this Hatha Jodi article which they sell is actually a biological sample of the Varnus bengalensis. Varnus bengalensis is schedule 1 lizard. It is a monitor lizard. You might have seen somewhere in your backyard, in your garden. It is big size lizard and very, very low price. It is the picture of the monitor lizard. And when we did the morphological features test, we found that this feature is matching with hemipenis of a reptile. It confirmed that yes, this article is of hemipenis of monitor lizard, male genital organ of monitor lizard, which was propagated as a Hatha Jodi, a plant root, which was not true. And that we published in one of the International Journal of Legal Medicine. Here in one case, at Delhi airport, our custom officers has stopped one foreign passengers who are traveling made up of complete whole skin of the monitor lizard. So you can see the head intact, leg intact. It was a whole skin first. In one case, the custom officers from Delhi airport only sent this article in confusion with the bear bile. One Pakistani fellow was coming to our country having 2 bags full of this article. And these 2 bags, they were having about 25 kg of the material. He declared a dried meat. And when it reached to us and when we did the test, it matched with the American beaver. American beaver. That is the animal found in North America and Canada. Nowhere else. So it means there are animal which is not originating from India and not even from the Asia and Europe are also coming in our country for the different purpose. Here, a unique 4 pieces of the antler we received along with many other antler. Total 12 pieces of the antler we received in a case. And when we did the test, it matched with the fallow deer. Fallow deer is originated from Europe. And then we started, because we were also surprised how a European deer antler is available in our seizure in India. Then we searched with the Google image. We found the image of this fallow deer. And then this antler are exactly matching with the antler which we received in this case. So we confirmed our own self, because DNA test is very, very robust and reproducible. Here you will never get confused with the DNA test. If you do the proper testing, proper handling, so the end result will be so satisfactory that sometime it will surprise you that what was the actual story. So that is why DNA test is taken as more powerful and potent tool in every type of the forensic investigation. In a case, very famous case was it, very famous personality was involved, very big celebrity was there involved in this case, where it was alleged a black buck hunting, where blood stain file, blood stain knife, and blood spot from the vehicle. These 3 articles were sent to me for the confirmation. That time I was working in CCMB, Hyderabad. And when I did the test, there was confusion that that person has at least to hunt a black bug. And when it reached to us, when we did the test, it exactly all the biological sample, whether blood stain file, blood stain knife, or gypsy mat having the blood stain, all items were matching with the black bug. So we confirmed with our report that yes, all the blood stain is coming from the black bug. And most of these case studies are published in reputed forensic journal, like this one which I am talking about. It is already published in Forensic Science International Genetics, which is one of the leading forensic journal. Impact factor more than 5 for this. So here in a zoo park, one tigress was killed and de-skinned in a zoo. It happened in 2000, 20 years back. It make a big question on the management of the zoo. But after 5 years, in 2005, a local guy of the city was caught with the claw in a pendant, silver frame. And when that fellow was under interrogation, he accepted that this claw belonged to the same tigress which was killed 5 years back. So it was sent to me for the confirmation whether it is coming from the same tigress which was killed 5 years back. Unfortunately, there were no biological sample recovered from that deceased body from this carcass. But still, this tigress was captive born. So we collected their elite mother and father biological sample, and she was born with one sibling brother. So mother, father, and elite brother samples were recovered from the zoo. And then I started the microsatellite profiling. And with the microsatellite profile DNA, which is simply we referred as DNA fingerprinting. For human DNA fingerprinting cases, there are a lot of markers and kits are available in the market. For human forensics, there are 16 filer, 23 filer, everything are available. Those are ready-made. You don't need to do, you just follow the procedure, result will come at the end. But here, I developed my own marker, we developed our own protocol, and finally, we developed with our own method and find out that yes, this claw is coming from a same family. 15 years back, I'm talking about in 2005. And finally, we concluded here, wooden chopping block, those were completely washed out, was used as a evidence of the slaughter of the peafowl, peacock, our national bird. And that we could identify only from the wooden chopping surface. There were cooked meat and non-edible part of the bird, but those were of the misleading biological material transplanted there at the crime scene to mislead the cop, to mislead the investigating agency. But these two cooked meat and non-edible part were matching with the chicken. But wooden chopping block, when I scraped the surface of the wooden chopping block, it gave the identity of the peafowl. It was published again in the Forensic Science International in 2005. I was pioneer in developing a protocol for DNA fingerprinting or DNA stations from the ivory, elephant ivory. Before that, there was no protocol described for that. It was also a big story. I'm not going to explain all the story here. Jaldi, my class goes beyond 3 hours. So I'm just rushing to complete it within a time. So here, from these two attachments, from both the idols, I was able to study the DNA, and with elephant specific marker, I was able to identify, yes, these two ivory idols were actually coming from the Asian elephant, not from the African. Pangolin is the another victim very heavily traded right now. Very cruel way to kill the animal. A live animal is boiled down in a boiling water. They don't dare to kill the animal. They hang the live animal in the boiling water, and once the animal is completely cooked, then its skull is taken out from its body. And after skull is taken out, they don't throw the other body part. They make it in curry. They consume it. This skull is collected then. In India, we have 2 species of the pangolin. Total, we have 8 extant species of the pangolin globally. 2 are found in India. Generally, one body of the pangolin, you can get up to 500 gram of the skull, hardly, maximum. It can be 300 to 500 gram of the skull, depending upon the size. But in one case, we received 90 kg in 2016. Last year, December, we received 337 kg of the pangolin skull by DRI Assam. So if you take higher side half kg from each body, so for 90 kg, more than 180 animal, for 337 kg, about more than 50 animal were killed. It is nothing when we compare with the international quantity. In December 2016, about 3 ton of the pangolin skull was recovered in Beijing. 3 ton, 3,100, amounting to not less than 6,200 animal. In May 17, 7 ton in Hong Kong. Again, November 2017, it is a 12 ton from Beijing. And last year, it was 26 ton from Singapore. And in enforcement process, it is not possible to recover 100% of all the seizures, all the illegal trade. It is hardly you can detect 10% maximum, 10% of the total crime. Still, I assume 90% has gone undetected. You can multiply this quantity with the 10 times. That would be bare minimum quantity of that animal product. Another article is the body fat of the panda, Euromastis, Spanish lizard. Again, cruel way to extract the panda oil. A burning stove having a pan filled with the cooking oil and a live animal is poured into boiling oil. And one animal is completely fried out, a live animal is completely fried out. Then its skeleton is taken out and the oil is sold as a panda oil. Rhino horn. Earlier we had 5 species of rhino globally. 3 species in Asia and 2 species in Africa. Black and white rhino in Africa, Javan, Sumatran and great one-horned rhino in Asia. But recently, Javan rhino is declared extinct. Now we have only 2 African and 2 Asian. And Sumatran rhino is also not having very good condition. They are also at the blink of the extinction. Only Indian rhino in Assam is having viable and big population. GRP, Railway Police from Jaipur, they recovered 1 rhino horn. Though we have received many rhino horn, but I am talking about one case interesting where GRP has recovered 1 rhino horn, and when it's sent to us and when we did the DNA test, it matched with the black rhino of African origin. Then we try to find out its basal portion and its structure. So if it is circular, it is black rhino. If it is square, it is white rhino, and if it is oval, it is Indian rhino. So up to these three species we can identify using morphological feature now. But a fake article also floating in the market where a nailed wooden portion are covered with the melamine resin, urea formaldehyde resin. This is fake. Here a bone is carved like rhino, painted black. This one is the real rhino horn. The rhino horn is a bunch or cemented hair. So we have make a genome profile of the tiger where we can identify the source of the poaching of the tiger, maybe from the North India or from the Central India. So we can identify exact source of the poaching from different tiger reserve. And we do lot of training courses for different agencies that include WCCB expert. They also used to come in WI for the training. We regularly conduct 1 week attachment for Indian Revenue Service officers. Those are opting the custom service. Every year they come for 1 week attachment in WII. Their probationers, IRS probationers. They do come here and we train them, we teach them, we sensitize them how to identify different parts and products of the wildlife. And that is how they are able to identify wildlife product, whether it belongs to American beaver or Satus tall or anything else like monitor lizard purse, skin purse. And we also train the other countries expert like Nepal, Bangladesh, Bhutan. Malaysia was also looking towards for training their staff. So we do provide a lot of training courses. We went as a resource person in Interpol headquarters Lyon, France, to train the European participants how to identify Sahitu stall. We provided our training to identification of the Sahitu stall on the site. We shared with our protocol and with our tricks. So those are the things where we can identify easily. Our laboratory are now recognized under CRPC section 293, where our report will be taken as it is in the court of law as a scientific evidence. Outcome is already there. We have developed, we have established many dimensions in wildlife crime investigation. This wildlife crime, this wildlife forensics is very new branch of the forensic science. It is hardly 2-decade-old science, unlike a forensic science, which is over a century-old science. But this one is very new, and we have grown very rapidly in this field. Constraint will always be there, which we are trying to negotiate, and we try to provide our best service, our best support to the enforcement agencies working all across the country. And sometimes our neighboring countries also looking towards us for their support, their enforcement support. So thank you very much for listening carefully and patiently.
Thank you so much, sir. Now we'll have a question answer session. Participants can ask their questions to sir.
Hello.
Hello.
Hello, sir. Good afternoon. This was really very good session. I just wanted to ask if like wild animals which are not like part of India and which are being traded from outside the country, and if they are caught in our country, in which sections are they being processed under Wildlife Sections Act?
So there are two ways to deal that. One is the Import Export Act, and another is CITES. India is a party of the CITES. So we follow. There are many species, those are listed in CITES, but not found in India. So there we can do the help of the CITES Act,
Okay, sir. Thank you so much.
not
Sir,
with the WPA. Wildlife
okay.
Protection Act will not work there.
Okay, sir, one more thing. If, for an example, if some pet animals, like you said, horse, basically can be used to like fake any wild animal skin or any part. So in that case, if somebody found horse skin or any many maybe pet skin or any other which are not included in Wildlife Act. So for that, if somebody is killing innocent animal to trade, uh, how that can be dealt of?
So there are Cruelty Act is there, Animal Cruelty Act, where Wildlife Protection Act will not work. But of course, if animal is converted, the body part is converted like a wildlife article. So there another act can be implemented from our CRPC. So that is IPC 429, the fraudulent case.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
One is a cruelty to animal, and that's fraudulent.
Okay, sir. Okay.
So these
Thank
two
you.
can be implemented there, not WPA.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Also, the participants can introduce their name and their organization name before asking the question. Yeah.
Okay. So this was Ruby from GD Goenka University. I asked you two questions.
Hmm.
Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you.
Hello, sir. Sir, my name is Meg Shah, and I am from Oro University. Sir, I have a question that what will be the impact of wildlife trafficking on the people of the India and outside the world?
So that is a very huge impact over any country's ecology, biodiversity. So animals are being harvested from the native their native range. So their population may decline. There may be imbalance of the species. Like long back, you might have heard about the Virappan operating in Karnataka, Tamil Nadu, and Kerala state. So there a high imbalance of the male-female ratio of the elephant was observed because he has selectively killed all the tusker elephant. So there were hardly any male in the population for the mating, for the growth of the population, except the maknas. Maknas are the male elephant which do not have the tusk. So
Yeah,
those were survived somehow. So same thing, there may be implications like Sarishka and Panna, two tiger reserve. They lost all the tiger, absolute loss. There was no tiger left. And then we again reintroduced the tiger in that part from the other neighboring populations. So that is having very severe implications in the wildlife conservation.
and
So,
sir, one more question, sir. What changes should be made by us and sir, by the government um, to protect that wildlife thing and the animals who are being slaughtered uh, by sir, by just I have learned that from that boiling water skill, uh, uh, deforestation and things. So sir, what changes should be made by the government official to keep the animals safe?
from poacher,
Yes, sir. From
there,
watching
there are
all
there
the
are there are many ways. Now we have started a online tracking device. So that is their field staff will do the patrolling in the field, and they are record. Sometimes they may mislead to their superior that they are doing patrolling, but actually they don't do. So here there are digital monitoring of that. So with that we can monitor whether they are doing real patrolling in the field. So that there is no any alternative of the food patrolling. So forest staff has to do the vigil. They have to go frequently in the field and do the patrolling and try to find out the any symbol of the illegal trade, illegal crime against animal.
okay.
So that is the
Sir,
only way.
sir, one last question, sir. May I?
No, yeah.
Sir, what are the loopholes in this that that we that all the people are not recognizing it till today? What are the main loopholes?
All the people are not.
Recognizing it that these are the loopholes.
Sometimes there may be habitual offenders. They used to do crime here and they run to some other places and they do the crime there also. There may be small complaint at different police station, different forest staff. So now Wildlife Crime Control Bureau, WCCB, which is another body of our ministry. So they are making a profiling of the criminals. So with that, they are making a pre-informed networking of all the criminals. So, and it is shared among the enforcement agencies of the different states. So now they are more aware that those who are the major habitual criminals, those are involved in illegal trade. So such things are happening slowly. It will take time to make a complete system, but still we are working on the same line.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, next question, Nitin Tyagi.
First of all, thank you, sir, for a wonderful session. Sir, I want to ask a question that is there any database, government-based database of the DNA fingerprinting for the research purpose in the field of wildlife forensic science?
Generally, what happens when you do the wildlife forensic or any forensic, so there your database has to be your own. You can't say that I have compared my result with someone else's data.
Yes, sir.
So there the reliability issue will come. So generally in wildlife forensics, there is as such no any government database. We have made our own database, WI database, but we can create a consortium. We can create a big consortium where WI can own such a big database, and other agencies, those are working in this field, wildlife forensics, they can be a partner. They can be our subordinate or assistant in the different area, and where they can utilize our database for the legal purpose. Generally, another database is freely available in international side in NCBI, GenBank, where anybody can search their sample in that database. But NCBI database result is not acceptable.
Okay. Yes. Thank you so much, sir.
So this brings us to the end of our question and answer session and to the end of the session for day one. Thank you so much, sir, for an informative session that includes practical facts and real life cases. The session adds up to a new perspective of wildlife forensics, as well as adds broad knowledge of wildlife forensics in India. Thank you so much, sir. So this brings us to the end of day one of faculty development program. The feedback form and the quiz will be available in the WhatsApp group as well as mail. For tomorrow's session, that is day 2, we have a session at 1 p.m. Indian Standard Time. Thank you so much. Stay safe, stay home.